welcome to this video. This is quite an old VR, the one I'm going to film today. It was started by Moonflower Moments quite a few months ago, but I thought it would be interesting, by the way, to do my first last five. So for you to get to know me, and also for me to get to know myself and see where I am at. I'm constantly monitoring my collection, and I also have an Excel file just for that, just to keep in check all my decks. And also normally I also highlight with different colors, like the decks that have been, that are now retired. Yes, I have a retirement, basket for my oldest decks, the ones that have been, have worked a lot during their, life over the years, but now they are retired. And then I have newest, acquisitions in my collection. I don't have a huge collection with hundreds of decks, but I have more or less 100 of them. It's not huge, but it's growing, especially because I'm reconnecting with my personal practice in the last months, because I've been reading for clients for a lot of years, and at a certain point, since I was dedicating myself only to clients, I'm still doing it every day, I didn't have really time, or I have forgotten a little bit to connect to my practice. The point is that when I wanted then to reconnect to my practice, I found that I had very old decks I didn't want to really use again, because I don't know, they were maybe tied for me to a specific period of my life, and I used them for very specific purposes, or just a very specific time in my life. And so I wanted new energy, I wanted something new. I was also drawn to very different decks that were being released during that time. And so months ago I started purchasing decks again for myself this time. And so almost all the decks I have purchased during the last months are for myself. But this says something, right, about my practice. It means that I have a personal practice now, so I've been reconnecting with it. I also keep track, in my Excel file, I also keep track of the decks that I use for myself and the decks that I use for my clients. And all the last decks, according to this file and what I'm keeping track of, are mostly used for myself. And so I'm very glad, I'm reconnecting to with this personal practice. And it's very interesting also to notice what are the decks I'm using to reconnect with it. So what is the kind of work that I'm interested in doing, So let's start without further ado with my first five. So this is the first of my first five, because it was not the absolute first. I'm cheating a little bit, but it's quite an oldie, It comes from my retirement basket. As I was saying, I have a basket for all my decks that are now retired, because they have worked a lot. And this is, by the way, a classic, and it's a deck that has a lot of history. This is the Radiant White Spirit. I don't have the box anymore. If it looks in pretty good conditions, don't be fooled, because I have trimmed this deck. This was my workhorse for years, especially for clients. I used it as crazy, like crazy. I use it so much for client readings. These cards are glossy, so there is a little bit of glare, but you know it very well, because it's the classic, standard Rider-Waite Smith, with very bold black lines and quite bold colors. So it's not the vintage one or the centennial, where the colors are more muted. You can see the cards have a lot of history too. Again, sorry for the glare. So I trimmed the borders. This was already borderless, but I trimmed the borders a little bit to clean it up because they were getting all worn out. I mean, they were already so worn out. They were almost, open. And I even took this deck with me to Paris. There are also some pictures, some photos on my Instagram where I am in Paris and I'm using this deck. So let me tell you, it has been through a lot. As you can see also, the cards, I don't know if it picks up, but I mean, look at this one. When I was in Paris, my bag opened. I mean, my bag was open just because I don't know why. And it started raining. and the poor cards got wet. So I used this deck for people in Parisian cafes, but honestly it was also too heavy to carry around, and that's why I started getting also smaller decks for readings on the go, but just recently. I had to learn, you know, the hard way with this one. It was so heavy to carry. Also the cardstock, you know, is quite thick, so it's a heavy deck to carry around. So you can see all the damage done to the cards. Now this one, as I was saying, is officially retired, but it holds so many memories, and especially it has worked a lot. So yes, a well-earned, you know, retirement, I would say. So the next one is a deck I almost never see on YouTube. I don't have the box. Actually, I have the box for this one, but it's folded in the little book, guidebook I made myself for this deck, with the insights gained from the thousands of readings I use it for. This is the New Century Tarot. These are the backs. This deck is trimmed, and I don't know if you can see on camera, but it is quite well worn and well used and well loved. I love this deck. It's beautiful. It's so underrated. I never see it on YouTube, but this is the second deck, and this is true. This is the second deck ever that caught my eye immediately because of the colors. And also, I don't know if you can see, but the majors have all this kind of pattern, tree pattern in the background, and when you put them all together, like this, for example, all the trees align. This is so nice. But I love this deck. I love the colors. As I was saying, it's trimmed because it comes with borders and the same color of the backs, you know. I was drawn to the colors because it reminds me of medieval miniatures, but also a little bit of this is just my impression, you know, Disney animation, especially the Sleeping Beauty. I don't know if you remember that one from Disney, but there is something vivid about it. And this deck is being incredibly accurate for me. I use it for clients when I was still giving, you know, free readings, just to start, you know, getting reviews and just honing my my reading skills, you know. And I use it all the time for my first clients in particular, and as you can see, it's pretty worn out, but I don't know if it shows on camera. So the corners are definitely, yes, a little bit worn, you know, the edges as well. It is square normally because I trimmed it down, but it would be almost a square deck. As you can see now, it's pretty small, but it's small already when it comes, you know, in his original form. I can hold it in my hand, so it's also nice to hold. And originally it had these, you know, purple borders, as I was saying. Not bad, you know. I also then, but I wanted to focus more on the artwork. I needed this artwork and these colors to really pop for me. And then also my reading experience was better without the borders, I have to say. And also for the pattern, you know, I like just to have the cards that when they are next to each other, you know, you can see this pattern continuing as well. And also sometimes the streams, like there are streams of water, like sometimes they continue, you know, from one card to another. As you can see, the colors are amazing. They are so vivid, and these figures are just so nice and so cute. The guidebook, the little white book, you know, is amazing. It has given me such, you know, precise, reliable, and readings deeply connected to me and to the energy of my clients, of course. Now, also this one is retired, but it's still one that I wouldn't say one of my favorites, but certainly one that holds a special place in my heart. I don't know if you can see it, but at a certain point I also tried to paint this deck with pearlescent colors to make it shine. I don't know if you can pick it up. So this is the, you know, how much I was obsessed with this deck, and I still think it's beautiful. I think, you know, there are so many details in these cards. I don't think you can fully appreciate it, and you know, through the camera, but I mean, love the colors still. It was an immediate purchase for me. I saw it on Amazon years and years ago, and it was immediate buy, click, you know, for me. Yeah, so this is the new Century Tarot. Another straight shooter from ancient times and from my retirement basket is the Dreaming Way Tarot. This is quite popular and it's another mass market deck. I was getting a lot of mass market decks in the beginning. I was still exploring and didn't really know what my taste was when it comes to tarot decks, and I didn't exactly know what I was looking for, so I was still exploring, but this one was so popular. It was also a YouTube favorite. It still is also on some channels. This is very well known. I trimmed mine after seeing a video where the creator himself trimmed this deck. I regret it a little bit because I don't know. I mean, what bothered me was the copyright here, really, in the border. You know, I couldn't work with this deck. I was just focusing on the copyright all the time. So this deck has such a cute, whimsical feel to it, but over time my tastes started to shift. I still find it cute. I still love the colors. I still like it, but maybe it wouldn't be one of my favorites today. It wouldn't be my first deck, the first deck I go for, you know. But one thing I have to say, that this deck is shockingly accurate for me. I trusted it completely from the beginning because it was so clear. One of the most, I would say, clear and transparent decks, and from the beginning. I trusted it completely for client readings too, almost like the new Centuries. So these were the decks I trusted for readings. It always tells the truth, no sugar coating, but at the same time it is not overwhelming. It's gentle, but in its own way, but it's very precise. So it tells you what needs to be told. I also used it a lot. I used it a lot in the past, you know, as a kind of clarifier deck, especially when I was struggling to connect with another deck, maybe a new one. It never failed me, so I trusted this one to give me the definitive answer to a specific question. So whatever you say, you know, I know that you are true, you know, I know that it must be correct because you definitely earned my trust, you know. Don't want to let it go for now. It is in my retirement basket. So this is a Dreaming Way Tarot. The next one is one I would call a difficult relationship. The one that is really complicated, maybe the most complicated one I've ever had with a tarot deck. I made this spec for this tarot deck to connect with it even more, because also in some way I cherished it, and I still do. But so I first saw this one in a Lisa Pepper's video many years ago, and I immediately knew I wanted it at that time. This is the Gorgon's tarot. This is a round deck, and the cards are huge due to a printing mistake. You know, it wasn't supposed to be that huge. I don't have the box anymore because also the box was huge. I don't love boxes unless they are, you know, small and just, you know, the deck size. So the Gorgon's tarot. I really love also the theme of the Gorgon, you know, it's a black and white deck. The book, by the way, this little booklet is just very good, amazing. You know, there are a lot of my notes here and there. I underlined some sentences. I've used it a lot. I also created, again, to connect with it, my own guidebook, as I used to do in the past with each one of my decks. But as I was saying, I saw it in Elisa Papa's video, and I immediately knew I wanted it. But something happened, something weird. Like I started feeling weirdly anxious, like I wasn't sure I was ready for it. And honestly, I struggled with it from the start. The readings at the time were harsh, blunt, almost like this deck was scolding me for some reason. And yet the art is adorable, as you can see. very cute, actually. It's not harsh at all. It's not obscure. It's not dark. It's cute, you know, more on the cutesy side. And the little, you know, let's see if I can find them. The little animal companions, you know, on the cards are adorable. The art style is adorable. So look at these rats. I mean, they are adorable, right? Because there are a lot of animal companions here in this deck. There is also one, the main one, who has a name, I don't remember now. I would have to look it up, you know, in the little white book. But every time I pulled the cards, it felt like a tough love reading, and I wasn't sure how to handle it. So I left it on my shelf for a long time. I barely used it. As you can see, it's so cute. I'm sorry for the glare again, but all my first decks were glossy. It's something I didn't mind years ago, but now I prefer linen or matte or like rose petal cardstock, you know, a rose petal finish, a more matte finish. So years later, you know, something shifted. So I suddenly felt like we understood each other. So after many years, it felt softer, more approachable, because in the beginning it was like having to do with a punk teenager who doesn't really want to talk to you, but deep down, you know, there is something there. And this is the Gorgon card. This is the bonus card in the deck. So I even drew, as I was saying, the snake design on the bag just for this deck. and I'm not good at drawing, so this is the maximum I could do. So it had something happen to the bag because I had to move at a certain point, and yeah. So, by the way, I even created, as I was saying, my own personal guidebook for this one based on my experiences with it to connect with it even more. Even now, I don't use it much, so this one is in my retirement basket, but I can't seem to be able, you know, to part with it. I have thought about letting it go, but in the end, I just can't. So it stays. So this is the Gorgon Tower. So the fifth one is a Dream Dust Shamanic Tower. So even years ago, as I was at the beginning of my journey, you know, on my tarot journey, I was starting hearing about indie decks. I couldn't really afford them, and this one was very popular. It was first released years ago, and I wanted it so bad, but I didn't have the money to buy it. It was quite expensive, you know, compared to the ones you could buy on Amazon. So these are the backs. Yeah, sorry for the glare again. This also is glossy. So it has been now released again. So there is a new, I don't know if it's a new edition, and it has become popular again. But actually I had this one years ago. So how could I get this deck? Because it was so expensive and I couldn't really afford it. I bought, you know, those kind of damaged copies. As you can see, it came with this, you know, flows, the print was off, and the edges also weren't perfect. I don't know if you can see really, but I mean, they are not perfect, but they came this way. It's for the use as well, but they also came this way. So it wasn't perfect. By the way, I could buy a copy for a ridiculous price, and finally I could get it. And I was so happy. This was my first in the deck. It was great for tapping into general energy readings for clients, because I was reading for clients. I was starting to be paid for readings also during the time I was already a little bit more experienced. So this one I also used for clients, but when I got it, I used it for a while, especially before bed, as a way to wind down. What's interesting is also that I never felt the need to buy another abstract deck after this one. I don't know if it's called like Tarot as Colors, for example, Tarot as Colors, something like this, but I haven't got it because they are so similar. And even though I don't use this one as much, I feel like still this is the abstract deck that fills that space in my collection. And after this, the first deck I bought that has, you know, this similar abstract vibe is actually the Margaret Peterson. And so this one was my before bed deck, you know, for a very long time, or for quite some time. As I was saying, very good deck to tap into the general energy of a reading around the situation. I used it for clients a lot. I used it for a time also to kind of doing some sort of meditation, just flipping through the deck and focusing on the image, the painting that really resonated with me, and then reading the meaning in the little, guidebook, and to find out maybe why I was attracted to that specific energy at that time. I'm using now the Margaret Patterson in a way that feels similar to the way I used this one in the past. So I think there's been an evolution here. Yeah, so this is the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. Now let's talk about the last 5 decks I have added to my collection. This feels so different from my early choices, and it's interesting to see how my tastes and reading style also have evolved over time, and what I'm looking for now and what kind of energy I'm attracted to now. So the first of my last 5 is a very new acquisition for me. It's the Burning Tiger Tarot by Giulio II. It's called Giulio Tarot on Instagram. You can only buy this deck by writing to Giulio on Instagram. This is a very well-known deck, by the way, in the tarot community here on YouTube. I almost don't have words to express what this deck means to me and what this deck makes me feel. These are the backs. This deck feels like it has a heartbeat. The artwork is raw, expressive. I don't think you can catch the whole beauty of this deck on camera. I couldn't myself when I watched videos, and it's a whole different experience when you hold this deck in your hands, I can tell you. The artwork is raw, expressive. This is a collage deck which has been made also using original, artwork and classical artwork, together with also some modern elements, and I really love it so much. There is something wild about it. It's expressive, full of movement, like it doesn't hold back. The readings feel fast, very direct for me, and full of power. It doesn't have a guidebook, but I use it also with some other oracles, and the readings are so clear, just honest. I use it when I need a very strong message, maybe also a shadowy one, depending on the oracle I pair it with. But at the same time, it also doesn't feel harsh, and this is one of my favorite cards, but I don't know if you can pick up all the beautiful intricacy on camera. It's really amazing. This deck made me cry when I opened it, when I received it and flipped through it. It has also double cards, like for the Lovers, the Two of Cups, the Hermit. There are many cards that are double here, and it's wonderful. And also you have many extra cards, and I think like the Three of Cups here, for example. I also can keep some cards out of this deck for other purposes, because it has, as I was saying, extra cards. And the card that made me cry when I flipped through this deck the first time was this Jesus card, because I found it at the end of the Major Arcana and I wasn't really expecting it. And Jesus here really means something for me, especially with all the words around, like love, pain, death, and so on, and life. And I keep this on my altar together with other cards that are very special for me. So there is something alive in this deck. It's like something that is constantly shifting, adapting to the moment. There is so much going on in this deck, but at the same time, it's so, I don't know, I understand it immediately. It's a deck that also pushes you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but I appreciate that. And you can really focus on a lot of things in each card. As I was saying, there is a lot going on, and I love that. So I love this complexity. But at the same time, as I was saying, it's very direct. And I love that it uses art, because I love art in general and art-based decks. So this is the Burning Tiger Tarot. Next one of my last, is the Dirt Gems Oracle, Plant Oracle deck. I don't keep it in the box, but I keep it in this bag together with the Herb Crafter Tarot, because sometimes I use them together. This deck has such a good energy. The colors are also so vivid. I don't necessarily look for either black and white or very vivid colors at this point, and in my tarot journey. And I was hesitant also to get this one because I've seen it a lot around and I didn't really want to get something. I mean, I don't really want to get something necessarily that everyone has because everyone is showing it, you know, but I'm very glad, you know, I got this one. This is very earthy. This is the kind of also vibe, you know, I'm really drawn to in this part, you know, of my journey. It's a deck that you have to study because it's plant-based and so it makes you slow down. So you need also to excavate a little bit the meaning rather than just read at a surface level, because you have to use the guidebook for this one. The cards have the name of the plants, but they don't really have keywords, you know. It's a friendly deck, but it also makes you work for the answers and for the meanings. But it's also why I love it, because I wanted something also that makes me slow down a bit, and when I use it, you know, feeling like I'm also uncovering some layers, you know, of meanings. I'm using this for myself primarily, as I was saying, not for clients, so it's my personal practice, and it's one that is growing with me. So this is the Dirt Gems Oracle. I think it would pair beautifully with the Gorgon Tarot, one of my oldest ones, but who knows. So the third one of my last 5 is the Jonasa House, 8th edition. Dreamlike, a little strange, very popular. This is my first Jonasa House. This one has been on my wish list forever, and I finally got it. The artwork is mysterious, very vivid colors again. I didn't do it on purpose. I also love muted colors, you know. It's slightly, you know, a little bit like surreal, dreamlike, cosmic. It feels strong, deep, and sometimes also surprising. I love the colors on this edition. There's something about this deck that makes me want to also slow down and listen, because I don't think it's a fast reading deck, you know. It's not too demanding at the same time, but you have to sit there, I think, and when you do, the messages feel like full of whispers, you know, from another world. This is a deck I reach for not too much yet, okay, so I think it will be perfect for spring, and I'm waiting for that season to really dive deep into it. But I think I would use it when I need something intuitive, a little bit emotional as well, and when I want to look for something hidden beneath the surface. The colors are very, I don't want to say groovy, maybe I want to say funky. I've also uploaded a video with flip through and pairings also of the Jonasa House with some of my oracles, if you want to check it out. So this is the Jonasa House 8th edition. Love the funky colors. Third one of my last 5 is the Lonely Dreamer Tarot 2nd edition. Now the third one is out, but I wanted to get this one because it gives me a spring vibe, and this is certainly one I want to use again for spring, possibly together with the Jonasa House, the Dirt Gems, and basically all the decks I'm showing now are decks that I'm getting for the next season. These are the backs. I wanted these backs specifically, that's why when I found the 2nd edition, I went for it. So this is second hand. It's still in order because I haven't used it, so it's completely new. It has a soft, melancholic beauty, and the backs of the 3rd edition, and I think also the 1st, I like this one, this carpet. I really like these backs too, but as I was saying, I was looking for something like with more flowers and more of a spring vibe. I also like the 2nd edition more because the colors are more vibrant. This deck, this edition, has a lighter vibe, you know, compared to the others, especially the 1st. I saw also on YouTube a comparison between the editions, and this is the one I prefer. I love the colors. I love the art of Odilon Redouane. This deck feels like a gentle wandering soul. The art has this ethereal, ghostly quality, soft delicate but also full of emotion. I haven't read with it yet, and I'm also a little bit hesitant because this deck feels so precious and I don't want to use it too much. Actually, I think I will have a very specific practice in mind for this one. It feels like, I guess, okay, it would feel like having a conversation with a quiet but deeply wise friend. I love how this deck captures also this feeling of nostalgia, like looking through, you know, something like almost remembering a dream you can't quite place. So I think it's perfect. It would be perfect for self-reflection, deep emotional readings, and moments also when you need to connect with your inner world. I think most people who have this deck like it for this reason, because it feels soft. I know that someone also likes it, and not only likes it, but it is many people's soul deck. For sure, it's a deck that invites you in. It doesn't seem like a deck that shouts in your face, you know? And sometimes it's exactly what you need. So this is the Lonely Dreamer Tarot. Last one of my last 5 is the Venus Morningstar Tarot. It's one that I'm already showing a lot on this channel. This is because it's one of my newest decks, and it's also one that reflects the vibe that I'm looking for lately, because it's a very feminine deck. So together with the natural world, you know, as you can see, I really love art-based decks, and I'm also looking for this specific, you know, feminine energy. This deck is pure enchantment, so it carries a divine feminine energy, sensual, intuitive, and also deeply connected to beauty and cycles. The images feel otherworldly. There is something deeply personal in this deck for me, like it understands something of me that maybe I don't fully see. It has a soft power to it, so again, not in your face, like the moonlight, you know, reflecting on water. I love using it for personal insight, also for spiritual work, feminine work, divine feminine work especially, and moments when I want to feel more connected to this kind of intuitive, you know, dreamlike energy. And also for the art, I think it just feels special. It's another one I will be using a lot in spring, and since it's called Venus Morningstar, I think it will be especially used in you know, Taurus and Libra season, because Taurus and Libra are ruled by Venus, and so I think I will work a lot with this one along in April possibly, or even between September and October at the end of summer. I think it's one of those transitional decks also for, you know, the end of summer, the beginning of autumn. So this is the Venus Morningstar Tarot, the last one of my last 5. So guys, these have been my first 5 and my last 5. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope to see you soon in another one. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please, and bye bye.